If science, by definition, allows for more than one opinion, otherwise you merely have the will of one man, which is the basis of cult.
If it's not in frame, it doesn't exist.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!
I'm funny how? I mean funny like I'm a clown, an illusion?
Where you been?
Drunk.
Wendy, darling, light of my life.
What's your one purpose in life?
To explode, of course.
I like death with sex. How about you, Casey? You like sex with death?
Yeah, so fuck off and die.
But this movie's got like so many moving pieces that I think that my problem is I wish I could have like gotten a little deep dive. I want to listen to the director's commentary. There's a DVD release that has his commentary, and I kind of want to know because there's scenes that were missing a little bit, but I think they were put back in on that director's cut.
Yeah,
with the
yeah, that makes
commentary.
sense. I'd like to
But there's-
see
yeah.
some of the stuff. I'm sure this movie was heavily edited over the years and stuff. So, I feel like what we got was like as close to the complete package, hopefully. So,
Well, is that did you put that version on the director's cut? Was that the version that was on?
I think so. I'm fairly certain. I'm not 100% though. But
I would imagine because it seemed there was the whole like nun scenario that kind of like that fiasco that was for like 8 minutes straight.
all the
you know, or
nun
maybe even,
scenario.
like 12 minutes straight or something, kind of at the end of the judgment.
This
but,
movie could just be called that nun scenario almost.
yeah, hell yeah, dude. That's gonna be my new mixtape.
Yeah.
the nun scenario.
Yeah, this is the Cultist Cinema Knowledge. It's the Cultist Cinema Knowledge podcast. I'm unwell.
You've got the nuns. I think it's
They've invaded
the
my
shock
brain.
of the nuns. Yeah,
they shook me, man. The
yeah,
nuns.
dude. You're
over
speaking
there.
tongues.
Yeah, right. It's true. I'm about to have a fucking hunchback about it.
Dude, oh my god, that was beautiful, dude. I love that so much.
I was planning. God, I suck, man. I was planning on writing a synopsis. I like had it up and everything, and then I just got distracted. But so I don't have a synopsis, but I'll lay out a quick one, and then I want to hear first impressions and like going in, right? Like what you knew, because we didn't talk about this movie at all beforehand, so I don't know where you were at with it going in at all.
Yeah.
So quickly. And this is just off the fucking cusp. So, oh God. All right. Father Grenier, he's a priest in this town, Loudon. And he's like the main guy, but he's the sexy daddy swaggin' priest. And all the ladies in town are like, he's such a hunk, I'll sin for you. And he's going around just knocking up other priest daughters and shit. And he's just being this general swanky ass priest dude. But that's it. You know what I mean? That's a general vibe. But he seems more or less down to earth in general overall. Meanwhile, there's higher politicals going on. I'm not going to go on into too much, but we got a new king and they're trying to get rid of dissent of Protestants. And he's not a Protestant, but they worry about this town, Loudon, having like it's neutral because of the previous governor. So like they were going to keep their independence, but the new king and like the king's fucking archbishop or whatever the fuck is like, oh, but if like they're so well defended that if they decided to have a rise up, then they could be, so we should tear down their walls so that we don't ever have a problem with, that town becoming a fucking fortress for Protestants or whatever, because, Christians or whatever. But,
I know, right. That infighting and that.
Yeah. So eventually, and this is jumping the gun, but I'm just doing it maybe a little out of order. But they do send like a baron to come to town to tear everything down, and he's like, "Nope, royal decree, we're tearing the walls down." The fucking king said it, and Father Grandier's like, "Now fuck that shit. I got a letter right here. If you don't got a letter, fuck that." And he's like a man of the people, and everyone like all the guys want to be him, and all the women want to be with him, unless you knocked up one of the relatives, and then he doesn't like you much. Those are the only people who don't like him. Is the one who keeps fucking their wives and daughters. Meanwhile,
because they were supposed to be like the mayors of the town, so that's why they were
right.
Why they didn't like him. They were like the barons of that town, so they took offense.
Yeah.
But he's a man of the people, like you said.
He's a man of the people, and he's like he's a leader there. He's
100%.
He's a leader of the
100%.
community for sure, if not the main guy. But and then meanwhile, there's a covenant of very attractive nuns that are all like in their 20s, like because we all know nuns are just hot 20-year-olds. But they're also obsessed with him. Everyone, he's the talk of the town. And one nun in particular, sister fucking Janine, I don't remember her name.
But
she's the mother superior, though. She's like the leader of the convent. She's like the most fervent. Like everyone's excited about it, but she's like obviously a religious psycho, and so she's like fervent about it. She's like having dreams about him with like Christ imagery and like fucking him, and she like is like whips herself with a cat or nine tails because she was fucking jacking off and all this. And so meanwhile she's obsessing about him, and there's like political intrigue and shit going on in the outside. She sends a letter that's like, hey, I'm gonna get him to come. We need a father. I mean, we are a nun group, like, to come in, and he denies her, and the other priest shows up, and she's like, no, I need his cock. And the other priest is like, my, these nuns are obsessed with cock. And so, and that's cult of cinema knowledge for any of you who are wondering. They're obsessed with
yeah, right. They really are obsessed with us.
And so these other nuns, along with, this other priest, he brings in like another guy that's like he's like a higher up. He's a higher up, like known for exorcists and shit. They also got the two creepiest characters in any movie, the like fucking like chemist and the fucking surgeon or whatever. Those creepy guys.
Those guys were the grass. Those old like
so
doctors.
gross. Yeah, dude. They bring him in and they're like, okay, let's figure out what's going on. Plus with the Baron, they kind of decide all together that like, oh, Father Grandier, he's got a little bit too much like influence over this place, so like let's bury this guy, in so many words. That's like their plan, but they're trying to like beat around the bush so much and be like, oh well, if he actually is in here in league with the devil, fucking these nuns who were going crazy. So they have like a massive fucking exorcism thing with the nuns, and they like let the nuns off the leash, and they go like mass hysteria instead of getting killed, because they were going to, and they're kind of like, yeah, just do whatever. And they're like, see, look how possessed they are. Meanwhile, Father Grandier is like, I'm actually in love now. So he just like fucks off and is in love for a while. And it's like, he's like, I'm just a normal dude. But when he comes back, they're like, look at all these nuns you sinned. And they're like, he's like, what? I've never fucking even been here. What are you talking about? But they snag him up. They torture him and they put him on trial. And they're like, you're in league with the devil. These nuns said they were possessed by the devil, and their evil, sinful, lustful thoughts of you specifically that you caused with your serpent tongue and all this bullshit. And so, and then it gets very Braveheart, and they like torture him, and he's like, freedom, I'll never, you know. But they burn him at the stake at the end, because they find him. There's a trial, and they find him guilty for, you know, conspiring with the devil and all this shit. More specific stuff, but I don't remember the details. But
all right, they torture him to make him confess, and he never does.
He never does.
Martyr.
He never does. He dies a martyr, and everyone's kind of, you know, and burns on the cross, and the nuns kind of go back to the way, and the one, even after it's all over, they're like, the mother superiors or whatever is like, so like what now? And they're like, well, nothing. Like, you're good or not, but you've kind of served your purpose, so maybe you'll get some tourists that want to come see, but other than that, just be a fucking nun, I guess. What do I care? Which is like, it's so, well, that's like the most self-awareness, too.
Abandoned.
Yeah, they're just like, we're just going to ditch you.
That was brutal.
And,
it's a bleak ass ending, dude.
It is. They tear down the walls.
Grandier's wife is like,
she somehow makes it out. You know what I mean? They tear down the walls, and she climbs over the walls with one of the best final shots of it. She like goes out, and it's like all the fucking skeletons on the wheels, like the crucifix style. But I don't know what it's called. Right. It makes me think of you ever played that game Blasphemous? Anyway.
Oh no!
Oh, you should. You fucking should.
Blasphema.
This movie reminded me of Blasphemous quite a bit, and I'm like, I want a Blasphemous movie.
Yeah.
It's so good. We should talk about that later. You would like it, dude. It's a Metroidvania. It's dope. Get it on your Switch.
Oh, okay. Oh, sick. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the gist, and this movie is based on a true story. And it seems, from what I understand, other than like obviously the details, to follow fairly closely to what records say had happened of the general.
Well,
arching vibe. I think that's, it's like a little.
Even the opening of the film says the like larger
It does. Yeah.
historical events are based on true stories. But I think that this takes from the book of the same name, I think, or something in League with the Devils or something like that. It's like there's a book and a stage play that's the Devils.
The Devils of Ludon.
And that's like I think, that's where it is. Yeah, the Devils of Ludon. I think that's probably thematically a more related is my assumption. But I think that something that's cool, just real quick, like a little fun fact, they were inspired by Fritz Lang to make this skew in a like futuristic, abstract style. So like it's not supposed to where like the name of the rose is they make it look like an abbey and like the stone, the cobble, the mud.
I felt that
stuff.
with like the sets,
that.
dude. The sets, like the exterior sets of the town, were just like
it's
completely
so
unique.
Clean.
Yeah.
Yes, and very unique, and like that tile and everything, like in there, and like showing, and I think they did a great job at showing like the wealth disparity and like the difference between the actual library and then the small town they're in, Ludon and stuff. So it's like I love it. I think it like that was the thing that stood out to me probably like the most is that I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like it's obviously like historical fiction, and so you've got those like the true things, but then as I'm watching this, I'm like, these are beautiful set pieces. It's great.
They're great.
It's not set in like a true time period, which is awesome.
Yeah, you're not watching it.
I love the
being
plague
like,
backdrop and stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a good point because I noticed that too, but I didn't like fixate on it. But now that you mention it, that makes a huge point because like especially the churches and stuff. I'm like, God, these are cool churches that they found / built upon the city, but it's obviously not like it is like a hyper reality because it's not reminiscent. It's like, as far as I know, medieval towns did not really look that way. I mean, I guess this isn't technically medieval, but you know what I mean? Like these type of towns didn't look this way, and these churches, like it's its own flavor a little bit. It's like it does feel like a slight alternate history of like the path of Christianity and the holy wars and all that, which is
it's
very,
like the materials.
very cool.
Yeah, it's like the materials are too uniform almost. It's like everything. It is a little too clean and perfect.
I can see the Fritz Lang. I can see the Fritz Lang inspiration for sure. I could see that.
Yeah, totally.
That's
I thought that was great. And so I think for us, first impressions, I read on if you go to r/cult of Cinema Knowledge, you can keep up with the stuff we do before the pod. We get on and we comment with all the cool cats that are on that subreddit. But you really liked it, and I really liked it. And so my first impression was I didn't know I like.
Yeah, was this on your radar at all?
No, it's one of those movies I've seen the poster, and I just kind of assumed that it was like Blood on the Devil's Claw or whatever, or like I thought it was more of a folky horror kind of early 70s. Just what schlock almost, if you will, just kind of, and like not in a bad ways either, because there's so much about Blood on the Devil's Claw that I really liked. But we go listen to that episode of the podcast. Yeah. But that was my expectation. So when I saw this and I was like, oh shit, this is like super tight, almost it's like felt like Kubrick directed it or something. I'm not very familiar with Reed, or what's his name, Ken Russell.
Russell, yeah.
I'm not like I don't know any of his filmography, and it's actually like a disservice. I'm upset. I haven't seen any of his movies.
I've seen Altered States. I'm happy. Back in the day, and I really liked
that poster before. Right.
I thought Altered States was really cool, but I feel like I wanted to watch because I watched Altered States back in the that golden age of when I was like 15.
yeah.
And I really liked it, but I didn't fully understand it at the time because it is very like kind of like this. It's weirder than this movie because it's definitely more about like. Yeah, I don't know. But
well, it's because they take like a psychotropic that
and they're like going in sensory deprivation tanks and stuff, trying to like get back to their like primitive selves and stuff. But it's I really want to watch it again, but this made me want to rewatch it and the rest of his movies more because this movie was dope. Because this was mildly on my radar because it's like you, I've seen the poster and I've heard about it over the years, but everything I've heard about it has been like. It was banned in so many countries, and it was so shocking and obscene and all this. And then it came back into my mind a year or two ago because last podcast on the left did an episode about the Devil's Ludon a couple years ago, and they're like,
okay.
"Oh, that movie, The Devils," and I'm like, "Oh, so that's what it's about." And so going into this, I was like, oh, "Okay, I kind of know the story from the podcast, sort of, but I was expecting like a more of a fictionalized version, and I didn't remember all the details, of course. But so going in, and especially how it started, I was expecting more of Hodorowski vibe because it was very like strange with the editing and like crazy
it gets so
70s
surreal,
and surreal, and the music with like the off kilter fucking like sax. I think like what was that? Like it was really cool, but then
it felt
became
like a synthesizer, like
yeah,
they put it
almost
on
right,
like on a piano, like that's.
But it became, even though it was like sort of unhinged, the second half became more, I guess, quote unquote, grounded as far as like storytelling goes, and Grandier, like I was like my expectations kind of changed halfway through. So in my comment, I said it was like less Holy Mountain and more like Name of the Rose than I was expecting. And I think because going in, and it's because Holy Mountain's not like so shocking, but it is very just strange the whole time. Like it is 100%
the whole time
metaphors and 100% like just being like they took way too much acid the whole time they were making it. And this movie, it's like they definitely took just like the right amount of acid, but then also it felt very historical because by the end of it, especially during the trials and everything, and like once you're seeing how like all these women, all these nuns are like being treated, and how like that's all shot, and then like his eventual execution and like the town, it's like I don't know. I'm like, oh, this is bigger than what I was expecting, like more of a B movie kind of vibe, and I'm like, no, this is fucking actually like epic historical fiction that actually does some really unique shit, is beautiful, and says some interesting things about some stuff, and without completely being in metaphors like a Hodorowski or like an El Topo, right? Which is kind of what I was expecting going in. So I was like thrown a little, but like really pleasantly surprised. Like I ended up really loving this movie a lot, actually.
Yeah, I did too, and I think personally, I like the front half a little bit. Well, I mean, the whole time I was smitten for sure, but I think this movie, it creates its characters, and like I don't know, it's weird. It kind of suffers a little bit from the early 70s and just kind of like the 70s in general, where they got a little surreal with telling stories, and so sometimes you kind of like you lose a main character. And in the 70s they loved like ambiguous main characters, like not really to everyone kind of on that fine line of like who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. Like this movie, there is no hero in this film, but he does, like he's the most sympathetic character, if you will, because he's just kind of like,
Grandier,
I've sinned in the past, and I am man, and I sin, but he's so good. He's so well written. But he like, I love that they didn't try to like make him a martyr necessarily. You know, at the end, like he's someone who's like, I'm in my convictions. He's like, I won't bow down to you and tell you what you want. Like I won't break and say like, you're right and my religion's wrong or whatever. Because I don't quite know. That's the one thing that kind of sucked. I don't quite know the difference between like Protestant and Catholic, and I don't know why they want to break them so bad.
They're all the same
I know they
nest of
just wanna own
vipers
the
to
land.
me.
Yeah, right. I mean, same diff. That's what I don't quite understand. But I think that there's something to it where it's like, I think that like there's the political intrigue in it, that goes, and that Grand Cardinal or whatever with the red hair who like gets wheeled around like Hannibal Lecter. He's like the right hand man of the king. It's cool to see him, like he technically is like, to me, he's like the true villain because he's the whisper in the ear that's just like, here, let's fuck everyone over. And
the true villain. There's never one. I mean, you can point to him and like the Baron, right? That are like the most directly antagonistic, but it's like it's the system that kind of allows it all to happen. Yeah, which is right. Obviously kind of the point.
They're getting away with all their actions because they're standing behind the king, and so it's like that's evil, but it also to them it's just like that's their story.
Well,
anyways,
it's how it was though. It's like back then it was definitely, and like at the beginning of the movie where he's just like the crown and the faith rule is one. You know what I mean, or whatever he says. Where it's just like, yeah, that is
exactly,
the law. The rule of law is the made up religion that I say it is, and we do whatever we want in the name of that. Which is so scary, dude. Like, it's so scary. Just like, especially
I know,
just
man,
the inquisitors and stuff, and being like, you'll say whatever we want you to say in the name of God, and that is what it is, because, you know, we're basically fucking magic 40K.
That's why.
Like,
well, that's why like that scene is so sinister. Like, this is watching this movie. I think like it's a true gut punch. Like, I don't think in like the visceral sense where it's like we're actually watching, you know, violence necessarily, but the like treatment of women was like, I was just like this is brutal. Like how they broke her to make her confess, you know, and it wasn't even like true. That's what's so terrifying about it, you know, is like he's just like, I need to hear you say the name, you know, Grandier or whatever, and like that's if you don't say it, we're gonna keep giving this disgusting douche bath to you. It's like that was oh my god, dude, it was brutal. Like when the second they wheeled the cart out and I saw those, I was like, ooh, this is not gonna end well.
I know, it's like a boiling fucking tepid goat milk concoction. Like I don't even know.
Oh god, I know.
It's like week
so
old
rancid.
fucking rancheritos horchata. Like
Dude, when she was. And she's like throwing up, and they're examining the puke plate, and they're like, oh, this is her lung, and this is whatever.
This is like an umbilical
tells you,
from a child that she ate in a black mass, you know, and it's just like,
right. Like they're saying all these things. That
they
she's throwing
believe
up because
this, dude. They
correlate,
fucking believe
but then,
this shit.
But then the tongue in cheek of the movie where he goes, I believe that's a carrot. And he like sniffs it, and I'm just like, that's so fucking British, dude.
So
that
good,
is
though.
so
good.
Goddamn, and it's so quick. It's such a quick little bit. It made me think of like Brazil. I got a lot of Brazil.
I literally said Terry
movie.
Gilliam vibes. I feel like Terry Gilliam,
right?
Because I was thinking,
like,
like Brazil and like even like 12 Monkeys and stuff. Like some of the especially those two doctors.
Oh,
they seem like they came straight out of Terry Gilliam.
Were amazing. Well, dude, and do you know who else? Robert Eggers, dude. This was Nosferatu hard 100% for me, dude. Like it like this is like going into Nosferatu thinking that like, oh, it's gonna be a quaint little film, and then being like, holy shit. Like it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. Like it blew me away. Like I was surprised, and I guess probably because I came into this with like zero expectations, and then watching that like just the opening scene where it's got the like oh my god, what is it? It's an interpretation of like Venus.
Yeah, it's like the birth of Venus or whatever, where it's the king
the birth of Venus, and how the king's like doing the performance, and I'm like, oh, who is this? And I didn't know that the cardinal, like I was like, what's the power dynamic here? But then when he's like, you're beautiful, your majesty, like, and he's like that sarcasm coming off of him, you know, that like he's placating him and just being like, oh, a beautiful interpretation of the of the birth of Venus, you know, like. You did great.
Well,
and he's like, he's just doing it to manipulate him.
Yeah, and every scene the king was into, like he was kind of like disturbing, just because it's like he's like the perfect, super sycophantic, like ultimate thing of just like he's got the ultimate lavish. He's just shooting all those crows, the Protestant crows at the party.
Yeah,
and then even when they comes in at the end to see the exorcisms, and he's just like, oh, isn't this quite the treat, the show, you know, like.
Yeah. Oh, and he loves the women,
the high
like,
society.
Being hysterical.
Yeah.
And, like, he thinks like there is such a, it's like, he has such a good performance of being like on high, you know, and kind of seeing all of this as like, oh, someone else will take care of this problem that's happening, and it's like it's such a quaint problem that
it's a good critique of like that's the fucking king, like that guy, that piece of shit that is so out of touch, that's just like such excess, and it's like the amount of sin that he's living in of his pride and everything, and they all are, you know what I mean? It's just the hypocrisy is just so right on point the whole time. That it's pretty great, because like even like you were saying earlier about Grandier, like he's a pretty gray character, you know what I mean? But like he is fully at the end, especially when they're like admit, and he's like, he admits to his sins. Like, he knows he's flawed. He's like, I'm a womanizer, but I'm a man, and I think that, I should allowed to be human, even though I'm a priest. And like, he's kind of critical of the church in that way, but it's like, he knows who it is, and like, everyone fits this role. Like, I don't know, it's very good. I don't know. I was terrified by the powerlessness of them, though. You know what I mean? Because it's just like at the whim of like, no one was like specifically like, oh, fuck that guy. It's just like, you're an obstacle in a path that I was told to deal with. And then it sort of became slightly personal. But at the end of the day, it's just like,
right.
It just, here's the means to the end for us to kind of get what we need and tear down these walls, which doesn't even need to happen. It's just a constant thing of power. You know what I mean? It's just like, they just need to have the power, and what they say needs to go. And so anything that stands in their way, that's just like, they'll immediately find and take advantage of, while being completely sincere about it, at least in their own way. Like, who knows on their deathbeds, but it's like the fucking crazy exorcist that comes in that is one of the most 70s looking man ever,
dude.
But
and
they're
and
all
such
drinking
a good
the
performance.
So good, dude. They're all drinking the Kool-Aid though. Like, they all show up and everyone's like, oh yeah, like when he's like, that's an umbilical, or like, oh yeah, this sexually frustrated nun who's obviously has problems. Like, nobody can look at that. It's just like, oh, I bend that to my women. It's like, I don't know. It's crazy to me, but it's so, like, of course, so matter of fact that it's just like, we used to have witch hunts and things like that, like this. Like, it's just so, and I guess we still kind of do, but it's just wild to think that it's like humanity. This was like the highest level of rule was this for so long, hundreds of years. Not even that long ago. It still is, but like
God sits on the throne today, in modern America even too.
I mean,
it's
not
like,
it's not the same.
But,
it's definitely not the same. But there's a lot of people that wish it was, but and it could become the same if we're not careful. But like, it's just wild that it's just like shit like this, where it's just like, no, we're the church, we do whatever we want, we kill whoever we want and torture whoever we want, and then they're the ones that do it, It's
right.
and that wasn't even that long ago.
That really gets
this
me,
was only like a few hundred years ago. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, the thing that gets me is that they do. It's like in that period. I mean, this film captures it so well. In that period, there's like, and even today, every generation, every 100 years, you think like you're at the highest level of like bureaucracy and like
it's like civilization. You're like.
The civilization. Look,
we got it.
Trial.
We got it figured out.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they have records. Like they're like we're not just doing this. Like,
we're not barbarians.
We're coming in and massacring you.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. They're like we're higher up, but yet like seeing that lens, like they were just gonna like mass execute all the nuns.
Right.
And then it's like
and
they
and
then he
tortured the two dudes
Father
that
Barr,
were on his side. They tortured the two dudes, and it never showed it. But it's.
Right,
just
until
like
later
to meet their means, you know what I mean? They come and they're all shook now, and they're like, "Oh, these guys will testify now that they saw you go to a black mass." You know what I mean? It's just right. Of course,
Yeah, but it's wild to see like on the whim people getting spared, because, and then that's the part where I'm like, I need to watch this movie again to kind of like the nuance of that. I don't really quite understand like the subtext why Father Barr would like save the women. I mean, I guess just to use them as that, like, as the circus, as that crazy hysteria in that scene to kind of like whip up more, drama.
Yeah,
for the trial.
I honestly don't think
he saved them,
like he's fucking high on his own supply.
Well, I know that's true. Yeah, I can't tell if he's in on the bid or not.
I don't think I don't think most of them are giving it any real forethought, but it's just like. Yeah, this is especially him though, where it's just like he thrives on like, and you blah blah blah, like just the absolute thematics of the whole fucking thing. That he's just like
he's Paul Dano, dude.
Yeah, it's like I wish. Yeah, if they remade this, it should. Paul Dano's probably too old now, but they should.
I don't know though. No, that'd be perfect.
Nah,
I think
Paul Dano looks 25 forever. Like,
yeah.
And not that character has to be young at all, so it doesn't matter. But
no, right.
But it's like, yeah, no, he. Yeah, I feel like he flips a switch because, like, not like, oh, I'm conniving and I can use this later. It's just like, if we kill them all, then it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we just kill them all,
Right.
then who will listen to me? Who will, like, then what will I be doing until the next thing? It's like, let's just fucking draw this shit out, because this performance, you know, this is who I am. It comes with the fucking, that's his seat of power, comes from that, from his fanaticism, as with many of them, you know what I mean? Pretty intense. But yeah, speaking about the performances though, they were all so good. Because like,
Can I give a shout out real quick? We'll talk about the main players and like the, you know, all the characters, but the person that the minute I was hooked into this film is when the mom of the woman he marries, whatever the hell her name is, I can't remember, I think Madeline or something. When the mom is dying of plague and they're putting like the bee
hornets,
stings on
yeah.
her wounds, and like the hornets on her wounds, and they've been trying like all of the medicine that they can think of, and that's a super British bit too. Is like they get in and they're like,
dude, the
explaining all
alligator,
things
not
that
the
they've been doing, and then
crocodile. Like,
like the crocodile like underneath him, like that was such a Terry Gilliam bit too, like that. It's just that pacing of it and the like tit for tat, you know, that writing was fantastic. But that just like him coming in and you get to find out who Grandier is, like he just like he's like, oh, this is you know, demonstrous. You're like, you're degrading her in her time of death. Like she's not going to survive. He knows this. There's no medicine. Let's come and like, let's just be, you know, whatever, holy. But like her acting is so good. It was terrifying. I mean, I know she's just like writhing in pain, but like the makeup, everything about it. I'm 100%
very
hooked.
gross.
Like, this movie is one of those like,
and the
it does
two
not do the
medical
70s justice
professionals,
because-
yeah.
I know, right? And I love their medicine doctor style. Like, you know, they have the things
Terrifying.
like
That
the plague doctors. Yeah, they looked horrifying. And I loved that one had like a mouthpiece and one had like a goggle piece.
Yeah,
you know, and
yeah.
then they sat on his shoulder at the end. You know, the Duke or whatever with the long hair. They like sat on his shoulder when he was fighting him with the sword. He was using the alligator to protect himself from the sword.
Dude,
Hilarious.
I
Dude,
can't.
that acting is so good. That whole scene is amazing. Like I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm 100% bought in. Like I am.
Oh,
Definitely
it was
down
a
for this
fucking
film.
nightmare.
So-
Like that was also a scene too, where it's
That's like one of the most horrific scenes in the
is.
whole movie to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's like
Even
it's so
before-
real, like the anguish.
yeah, even before he goes in that house though, but it's just like there's just people screaming in the streets and fires and stuff, and it's
Dude,
shown in a way that's
walking-
just like
Yeah.
it really reminds me. And we don't really do this as much anymore, but we've already said a couple movies that this reminded us of. But I've talked about this movie off and on over the years because it really stuck with me, and I want to watch it again. But fucking Hard to Be a God. Like that movie is so gross, but it's like I've told you about it before, but it's like
yeah, I've never seen it. So.
It's based on a Soviet book that I have and I want to read, but I haven't yet. But anyway, it's like technically sci-fi, but they go to a planet that is basically just medieval Earth, but they've never had a Renaissance, and so they're just like studying the planet, and so it's just like if this medieval society has just been stuck in this medieval society, like how much worse would it get? And so it's just like full of plague and just like just madmen doctors, and it's so gross and so violent. It is a fascinating movie, but like scenes like that really reminded me of it, and Blasphemous, the video game, which is great. But like, yeah, so many good stuff like that. I don't know. It's good stuff. We gotta watch that movie. But it almost makes me want to do Medieval Month again. We won't, but
I know, right? Something. Well, we could do something. I mean, this actually is kind of.
well, we said
I'm like,
I've been obsessed with pirates. You know, we're gonna find a way to work pirates in.
I don't. Well, no, maybe we could do like a period month or something, and do like
that could do
each
something like
week
that.
do a certain genre, a period piece genre style,
Historical.
'cause that was, historical, sure. But I really liked this month so far, like because Calvary is totally not all these movies have not been like
you can
the
tell
true religious movies.
maybe
I mean, you know what we like.
Yeah, maybe it's what I'm putting on there. I mean, I did put a lot of your guys' suggestions on the polls, but it's like maybe that's indicative to like what this group is and what we like. That the two movies we watched so far is like Calvary and now The Devils. where it's just like, gee, I wonder what these guys feel about. We're like, we're gonna do religious month. This is the movies we end up doing.
We're gonna. I know, right? Like we're basically, it's like we're just gonna watch Cannibal Holocaust. Like that's got religion in it.
I know.
Why not?
I feel like I'm definitely not going to, because fuck that. But I feel there's a part of me that feels like I ought to do a week that is ones that like are very
True.
favorable, like not controversial, like that are just like straight up religious propaganda.
We watched Conclave for you.
We did.
Go listen to that episode.
I know.
If you're
Even
looking
if I
for
put on
real
like,
realistic.
because I didn't even on my radar, but I'll put on because even movies like I almost said The Last Temptation of Christ, which I am going to put on there. But I heard
I
that
know,
was
right, that's-
even though that's positive, I heard that was also controversial first time. But Passion of the Christ
Like
is what I was
Dogma.
going to say.
I know that's.
I'm gonna put Dogma on one of the polls. Don't you worry.
Good. I know that's
Definitely-
what. Yeah, I was
definitely
Victoria.
gonna-
I was telling Victoria about that. I was like, she's like, "What religion movies are you watching?" And I was like, "We got a dog."
There's too many. I think there might be an extra week this month because those listening, I don't know, you know how we do it. We usually do like however many Wednesdays, and so
Right. I think there is an extra Wednesday.
So there might be a Wednesday because I wanted to do. There's so many. I wanted to do a horror week, like all the like religious horror movies, and then religious comedies because there's actually quite a few, and Dogma was like one of the main ones. And then I'll do like another big serious one, and I'll try to go. I mean, I'm gonna do Last Temptation of Christ, but it's like Passion of the Christ maybe. But even that is like,
yeah.
it's showing religion in like a positive view. But I don't know. I think that's the thing about art. It's like most art is like so. If it's any good or is trying to be real about something, it's like trying to speak to some personal thing, and very rarely is good art being like, I just like, I don't know, love this
It's such a funny thing.
institution, you know, this institution is so good.
Well, right, and but I think that's what like adapting the Bible is such a weird. It's a weird thing to say, like because and watching this movie, it to bring it back to like the Bible and religion, like it. I mean, it's like it's so funny how we use the term cult for certain things, and then I'm like this is a cult. Like it's like there's, and that's not even. I don't know. Like I guess maybe because when you hear cult, you think of like suicide pacts and shit, which you know Christianity's had that in the past.
Yeah, dude,
but
it's got
like,
all that.
It's like
torture
but it's
packs.
got all of that, and there's God, there was a freaking. That's what it was. There was like there was a scene in this movie, and I'm so mad I can't think of what it was, but it like perfectly summed up how it's just like it's like I think it was when they're at the trial and all the people in black are like laughing, like it's like such a good divide to be like, you know, everybody holy and white, and then all of kind of like the masses that don't really like practice, but they're kind of in a cult sect too, you know, they're like they're off and they're just kind of laughing at what we're seeing. But like I don't know, just them talking about like all the traditions and the cat o' nine tails, and then I think even just separating people, it's so crazy how like nuns have their own like little, you know, domain where they go and they have to practice their purity and stuff, you know, with that, and like, and that's dude, her masturbating one and like the other nun watching her, holy shit, dude, that like that to me, I'm like that's rated R. Like maybe, like, and but it's amazing. It was so like her doing that and then just feeling like so much guilt afterwards, and the whipping and stuff. God, this movie, the sound design in this movie is phenomenal. Like I love like that's what really got me. Like that was
like I forgot what I was gonna say. You said like 6 thoughts in one run-on sentence. I'm like, was gonna latch on.
I know
to
that's always that's how it always goes, man. You gotta hop onto this train, baby. It's going.
Well, no, I know. I do wonder when we're talking. Sometimes I'm like, we're comprehensible. Sometimes, right?
yeah, right. We gotta be. Somebody's listening to us, and we love you.
I appreciate that. No, it's crazy. Seeing about like you're saying, like the divides of the crowds, it's like near the end and like when everything's coming about. It's interesting because it's like they're still like they're jeering him on, like he's obviously pride is his sin too. He gets his hair shaved off.
Yeah.
And he comes out and they're all like laughing at him, but then also like when he's like still like he's still a man of faith and he still believes in God, even though he doesn't maybe believe in the church.
That's what it is. Dude, you nailed it.
He crosses himself, and they do it
when he
fucking
crosses
to those.
Yeah,
right?
When he crosses to the, but not everybody in the
Not
audience.
everybody.
That's great.
No.
When he crosses them, it's only a few people. But like that was the scene where I'm like, it's a cult, folks. Like that's you know, like you can't.
That's the scene?
Like that
Yeah.
him doing it. No, I know, right. But
Yeah.
that was but
Yeah.
that was a small
No, that
touch
is good. That is
that
good.
I was like, oh man, that's like that is
Well-
that it's just like it's such a small little detail, and it's like it's such a weird like he's got his pride in it, but like everybody else is doing it. Like I just don't get it. Like everyone else is like, you know, they dig Jesus, dude. They're up there.
Well,
they're bending their
they-
neck to the cross. You know.
And they say, and obviously, I mean, back then it was like more fear God, doom and gloom, a little bit more than they try to let on these days. But it's like the bloodlust and things is like when you try to say that you're good, but it's like in your culture, like it's like is disturbing to me. Like there's so many disturbing things in this movie about how they just like treat people as like not people, but like how that woman, she's happy to see him burned now because he like scorned her at the beginning, but she had his baby and they're holding the baby up like, watch your father burn. Ha ha. You bastard
Yeah, that's
child. And they're all like
Yeah.
just drinking and having a jolly old time. And I'm just like, you're burning a priest alive. You know that, right? Like goddamn, like you didn't, they didn't even let you, the executioner's like, don't worry, priest, I'll choke you out, man, before you burn. And they didn't even like let him do it. And he's like, I'm sorry, dude. He's like, I'm so sorry, priest.
No, yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is
that you could
so
tell
brutal.
he was like, I'm sorry, bud.
I'm just glad he got
That
all
was
his
good too. That
speeches.
makeup was good.
It was
this,
good.
Everything about this looked so good, and it's crazy, man.
We beat
very
around because we were talking about acting, but we got to come back just because we are getting it. Is it Oliver Reed, the main guy, Grandier? It's Oliver Reed, right? Is that what it is?
Sure, yeah.
I'm trying to remember just off the top of my head something Reed. He was so fucking good that like by the end of it, I was like couldn't handle it, man, because like obviously everyone was doing capital A acting a lot of the time. You know, the fucking like I forget the actress's name, but the Mother Superior. She had her small moments and her big moments, but like all the other people in the church were mostly just the big moments all the time. And Grandier a lot of the time was big, like his big speeches, standing up in front of the crowd, and he's like, you know, it's just like if you pull down one more brick, you'll be dead before it hits the ground. Like, you know, like so good. But also his such small, subtle moments when he's talking to that woman and he's like his vulnerability when she's like confessing to him and he's like, no, forget about your sins. And then he's just like his face when he's just like, that's his sin, like his temptation, you know? And then he's like, just meet me at my house. You know what I mean? But like later when he gets shaved and he's getting tortured, like he's so brave at the acting, like, right. It's so like, he's like martyr-ish, but he's like, fuck you guys. Like they're like, do it for the church. You don't want to be like this.
I love when he's like,
anti-martyr.
ignore these tears. Like, you know, the tears,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
he's
these
like,
are the tears
are
of
my
the
mortal
devil.
flesh.
Yeah.
Like whatever. Yeah.
But then when they start torturing him, he fucking squeals like a fucking, like it's not a strong masculine power, like, I'm being tortured. It's like, and it's so fucking real. Like, I was so impressed because I'm like, normally when these dudes get tortured, like I was thinking about the ending reminded me very much like Braveheart, where he's like this revolutionary leader, and then they're like, they torture him, and he's ripping out his guts, and he's screaming freedom, and like, you know, Grandier's like at the post being like, oh, this is you, this is the real you, and all that. But like, he's not over there being like, the pain. He's like, like he's just like fucking crying, and it's so like pitiful. But I'm like, God damn, that's some good acting, man. Just to have the juxtaposition
Really.
between the big grand moments where he's up there pontificating and like being proud to like the scared and the subtle to the fucking crying, screeching that's just like animalistic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially when he's crawling too, and they're kicking his legs,
kicking
and
his feet, and
every time he like winces, you're like, you can really feel like he fucking dude. He gave his A game,
so
and I
good.
really want to go down his filmography too.
I know, same. Earlier on, I was like, everyone's like, he's the hottest guy in town. I'm like, yeah, okay, he's like kind of hot, sure. Everyone, calm down.
When his mustache is on point, though,
He's got a good mustache, and he's like 70s.
Yeah.
He's 70s hot, and 1600s hot.
He's
But
he's
by
a
the end,
blockhead for sure, and it's in the best way.
it is.
He's
He's such a, especially when they shave him, and he's just like covered in scars and stuff like that.
yeah.
And he looks
No,
like
he's
he's
hot.
in an
He's-
80s
he's like
hardcore band, like, but in the worst way.
He's
like,
yeah,
it's
right.
great.
Well, I'm like, what's Anton Chigurh? Who's that actor? Oh my god, I can't think of his name right now.
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem. Thank you. He's a Javier Bardem hot. Like Javier Bardem is like
I know.
one of the hottest guys in the world, but like so scary, but like you know, you want to get lost in his chest hair. You know, that's like
Yeah,
that's
kinda.
what you want to lay on that big barrel chest. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I liked the, well, I don't like the IRL of the kind of orgy scene, you know, when they all really gonna go wild. But it's such a good like 70s time capsule for like
It is
just
very
that.
70s.
Like, it's like honestly on the day they're shooting close set, but like they were just kind of like, it was basically directed as like go cuckoo, go crazy, you know, get hysterical, like get, you know, be like as depraved as possible. And so like people were just taking their clothes off and like being wild, and that kind of led to a little essay, which kind of sucks ass. It's like, it's kind of the,
I wish.
you know, the issue of these close sets of these, like probably a little bit of drugs going around, a little bit of free will,
It's
you know,
1971,
free spirits. Right. But it actually, because of that movie, it was definitely a movie that was looked upon as being like an example for like, hey, we should probably have more care towards, you know, women
Some
and men acting
regulations,
together. And
Well, that's what I was thinking about, like,
actually take it serious.
El Topo, which I think is
Which is
also
cool.
71, but it's just like there was like an alleged rape on that set too, you know.
Right.
So I could see that time period being like, all
That
right,
just
everyone
needs,
just
that
chill
just
the
needs to be
fuck out.
said, because it's like a bummer, because it's like, that's part of the history we
I
can't
wish-
escape either.
I know. First thing, I wish they had older nuns though, because that did break my illusion a
I know.
little bit.
I do. No, I do agree.
I want
it was
some
kind of
old
weird that
floppy
all of them.
titties, because you know, if this was
Yeah.
an Edgar's movie, they'd all be old floppy titties,
I
dude.
love,
Every one of them.
dude, the witch. The fact that there's so many old crones in the witch
It's
is
the
so.
best.
God, dude, the witch is like such a superior
You-
film. It's such a good
you
movie.
gotta-
That's religious.
That, I know, right? We could put that. It honestly is. I think he's a Protestant,
Yeah.
if I remember right.
Wait, didn't we already do that? I think we did the witch.
We had to have done it for like a
For-
Horror-tober or something.
Horror-tober, maybe. Anyways, yeah.
The other thing,
But,
like, we talked about it a little bit, but I'm like, it's really sad that I feel like the legacy of this movie, like, I feel like it's really underrated. Because, like, the legacy of this
100%.
movie is that it's very offensive to the religious, and it's like you see a bunch of crazy big-titted nuns running around doing crazy stuff, and, you know, all this. And it's shocking, and not to mention the scene where she's fantasizing when they're praying, and she's fantasizing
Right.
about him as Jesus,
And
and
he
he comes
comes
down
off
from
the cross,
which
yeah.
that's the scene for me. Like, I was on board beforehand,
Dude.
but that's the scene I was like, is this?
and that.
Am I witnessing greatness right now? That's so good.
No, you are, because
It's so
I
good.
forgot that was in my notes. I wrote down licking wounds, because it's like
Yeah.
when she's licking him and like licks his like
Yeah,
the
his
stab of
stab
Christ
mark,
or whatever it
yeah.
is, like like and like when she's just like grinding the cross into her hand and stuff, and I'm like, the editing of this scene, the acting of this scene, everything about this scene is mastercraft. It's fantastic. And it's like, and then that's like when she, like, you know, goes to Beantown, and like,
Right.
that's such a good, that is, yeah,
So
that's
good.
amazing. That is a good spot to like really,
I loved
you
it.
know,
And
fix it. And apparently wasn't that cut? I think that was a scene that was cut.
that makes sense. I mean,
Or-
that
or
sounds
edited-
because
I
it's
think it was
very
edited down.
obviously Jesus
sure.
imagery, right? And I think that's what.
Yeah.
Because before you could kind of like, it's obviously pulling from that and from true stories, but when she's actually just imagining fucking Jesus off of the cross, when you know, I could get because that's the thing. It's like if you come from a certain background, or especially of the time too, more culturally, like we're here in the 21st century, we're so fucking depraved and desensitized or whatever. But it's like I feel like that's all this movie, like the quote unquote shock value that of like certain people in the time, really overshadows just like what an effective and impactful film this is, and should have been in the zeitgeist more. Like, I feel like this movie definitely should have been being talked about more. You know what I mean? As just like an excellent film. Like, it's just an amazing piece of filmmaking that takes like a lot of huge swings, and a lot of them really land. But like all I've heard about it up to this point was it's it's so shocking, it's so depraved, or it's just so weird and crazy or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like that's all I've ever heard about. It's like on like those extreme lists. Like I swear to God, I've saw it on the same list. It's like Serbian film or something. And I'm like, they're not the same. Like this movie,
Which is
this
the
movie's
same at
like
all.
might be a masterpiece, man. This movie is really, really, really fucking good and really well made, and it comes together. Like, yeah, it's a little weirder early on. It's hard for me to imagine that, like, oh no, not the crocodile, and he's like sword fighting with a crocodile, and then like the very serious, very intense scenes of the trial and the torture and the execution and stuff. It's hard to imagine those in the same movie almost, but by the end of it, that's why I was thrown tonally just a bit. But by the end of it, I'm just like, oh man, this is fucking what's up? I don't know. I don't take notes ever, but I was like, man, this guy's dropping truth bombs left and right. I want to remember some of these. But I got really lazy, so I only wrote down one line that he said, because I was just like, that sums it up. And he says, if God wants you to suffer, then you should want to suffer and accept that suffering gladly. I'm gonna put that sound. I'm gonna put that sound clip at the beginning of a metal song.
Yeah, dude. Oh, yeah.
So
That's
good.
pretty baller.
Anyway, I'll look up a Reddit because we got a couple Reddits. Do you have any idea about the money minutes? How much this cost?
It's annoying because I couldn't find this specific film, probably because it was panned so critically and it was just kind of hidden, just worldwide. It didn't have a huge distribution and stuff. But
God, it's ahead of its time, dude.
Couldn't find. I know it really was. Yeah, it really.
If this
is.
came out now on like A24, this would be like.
Oh yeah, this would be sick. Yeah, it's like we're kind of getting these kind of movies.
No, we definitely are. That's why we say Eggers and stuff, because it is like, that's the closest where we're at.
He's the predecessor, but I don't know the exact cost of this film, but he released a movie called Boyfriend, which is a musical, in the same year, 1971, and that cost $2.5 million. Then in 1974, he released Tommy, which is a movie I do know about.
I know, I've heard of that one. I didn't know.
Yeah. So he released a movie called Tommy, and that was $5 million. So my guess would be this movie ranges from 5 to like 10, 5 to 12.
That'd be my guess, because it's
production.
Got the sets.
The production value of it's huge. I feel like because it's like, I don't know if any of that was found. I think a lot of that. Because I know for a fact that the town square is 100% built.
Yeah.
That they fucked up and they blew it up on accident
Oh,
when
no.
they were filming.
Yeah.
And so they had to like rebuild a whole wall to get the shot up. So
Okay.
I'm like with those that happening, I would assume that it's safe to say it's probably like 10.
I'd bet 10ish.
Who really knows?
Thereabouts. Who knows?
It grossed $11 million.
Oh, okay.
So that's just that's pretty good. That's not great, but
It's not great, but considering, like you said, how like panned and banned, like places probably wouldn't show this. How also it probably had like such negative publicity. I mean, I'm sure there were a lot of people at the time. They're like, no, this is good. What the fuck you talk like? Just because it's criticizing the church or whatever, talking about this. But yeah, so that's.
Well, I'm curious. I would love to know
Not bad,
if somebody from the time was like, what's the take? And even it'd be great to find somebody who has like Protestant family and then whatever, just Catholic family or whatever, like to see what's the discourse, because it's kind of like that with like The Exorcist. That was my it was on the forefront of my mind watching this, knowing that this was such a controversial film, being like, oh, The Exorcist was like the same thing. People picketed it, and like it didn't have a great response to the religious community, but that movie blew up, dude. The movie's it's amazing and it's huge, and rightfully so. And we've done an episode on that, so go listen to it. But
yeah, but this should be. I mean, even though this is not as like classic horror as The Exorcist, maybe not quite as not quite as tight. This should be remembered as almost as well as The Exorcist, I believe. Like,
oh, dude, I'm 100% same. This and like Possession too. Remember when I can't believe
I was thinking about Possession the other day. Anyway,
yeah, it's like it's niche. It's niche in it. Like it's really popular in its demographic. But
that's
like,
true.
Yeah,
Possession should cult film. At least it's got some love. And hey,
yeah,
I mean, this movie came out over 50 years ago, 55 years ago almost, and here we are talking about it now. So I'm into it.
Yeah, and they're trying to get like a new release too, like a really high quality Blu-ray.
Oh, they
but
should like a
anyways.
Criterion restoration or something
Well,
like that.
Yeah, that'd be great. But it's all tied up in like ownership and shit with Warner Brothers and shit. But anyways, we have a bunch of Reddits too this time.
Yeah,
so
I got
that's
a handful of Reddits. Let's see which ones I'm gonna read.
Yeah.
So Welsh-ish. I don't know why that's hard for me. It says incredible film based on an equally incredible book by Aldous Huxley. Didn't he write Brave New World? I think. Anyway, Oliver Reed is easily one of the greatest actors of his generation, and Ken Russell is at his most unhinged, but also locked in directing. Yeah, dude. Thank you for that comment. I feel like such a chump because before this movie, both of those names would have meant very little to me. You know what I mean? It's like I'm like, yeah, I've seen Altered States, but like, so what? I'm not like, oh yeah, dude, Ken Russell and Oliver Reed. But now I am, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, thank you. Avery5712 says, oh boy, we were talking about this one on Discord a few weeks ago. They sent me the link to this movie. I skipped in just to see what it looked like. And yikes, it is graphic. I'll watch it for you guys, though. I hope you did listen to this and then come tell us, is it still? Like, where are you at with it?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
where are you at
please,
with it?
yeah, please put it on the Reddit because
I hope you
want to
watch
know
it.
your thoughts.
Yeah, if you listen to this, come let us know if you did end up watching it, where you landed. So, Meryl, the avant-garde dog, says, my parents had not gone to the cinema for 10 years. This was the film they decided. I bet it was my father's influence to break that abstinence with. I remember my mother coming home shocked and able to tell me about the experience. I was 13. Now it seems mild. Things change. That's so funny. I'm just like imagining taking like
That's crazy. Well, I'm actually so you're someone who I'm like I need to go. I'll go on and like comment again and be like, what is your what's your like what are your deeper memories of this, like, because you think it's mild now, but I think it's pretty intense. I honestly
it's
this
intense.
holds up.
I was
with intense
expecting
films.
just
like,
because that was the reputation to be more shocking. It definitely is shocking, but so I don't want to like downplay it too much. But it's like it's not nearly as violent as I was expecting it to be. You know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, pretty sexually intense. Like, especially when she's just like fingering herself like crazy, like that shot. Like you don't see it,
dude.
But it's like she's in there. She's digging in there. For sure.
It's like that's. I guess that's what it is. Is like that's the sound design for me, and like the suggestion. This movie is very suggestive.
Yeah, she's digging around in a
too,
fucking can of
and I'm like, I can't stop thinking about the nun, and I can't. And like the one nun that's jerking off the candle, I was laughing and being aroused.
I can fix her.
That's
you know what I
dude,
mean?
that was such a good.
Her hump.
Yeah, dude.
Dude,
her hump. No,
I love that hump.
Her hump was amazing, dude.
So
She's
good.
like getting like her clothes ripped off, and you can see her hump. And just her acting. She was the best like character, I think, and honestly, like she gave it the most.
She did
in this film.
She did.
And so that's
Yeah, she had a range. Her character was insane. And then COGD1Z says, I still have a crappy VHS transfer of this burned onto DVD that I made circa 2007. I really wish they do a 4K Blu-ray. Ken Russell is the king of Batshit Mountain, and I've always loved him for it. God, see, I gotta watch more of his movies. Fucking Buddy Clones of People 2 says, first watch. I didn't know much about this at all, but I looked it up before watching, and the first thing I saw was banned by the Vatican, and that was all the hype I needed. See, that was the expectation I had going in too. I'm just like, oh, like what? And which I obviously see. I obviously see.
We got by that because we got by the like it's banned by the Vatican. You know, it's like a movie you can't watch.
Well, I was thinking
like
because the first movie I had with those expectations where it's like it's banned in 30 countries was like Cannibal Holocaust, and Cannibal Holocaust did live up to that.
Cannibal, that's I literally was thinking about Cannibal Holocaust whenever a banned movie comes up, where I'm like. Oh, that movie, but Cannibal Holocaust is like a masterpiece to me.
That's a different beast. You know, that's a different beast.
But yeah, right. But that's a movie where I'm like, yes, that movie is horrific.
Yeah,
like,
I would be. I'd be light to recommend Cannibal Holocaust to people. Anyway, so he goes on to say, the film is so sacrilegious and provocative, and a giant fuck you to the church. I see people commenting that it's mild, and I'm confused. Did they not see the nun orgy on the life-size crucifix? I was raised in this religion, and although I am no longer a part of that, I did find it shocking. I can imagine how my religious family would be completely appalled at the level of filth here. Maybe you need to have held these things sacred to really get a full force of it. Oliver Reed and Vanessa Redgrave, that's right, that was her name, were great. I wish these were more of them. I like the visuals of the nunnery where they all so restricted in the metaphor this presents of oppression. I know, like, their doors are literally like halfway and shit. I liked that set a lot too. Anyway, also the brief scene in what looked like a prison but seemed to be a library. Obviously, the core message is that the church, the upholder of society and morals, is really the most perverse of them all. A bunch of weak-minded, power-hungry deviants who are also disgusting hypocrites. Overall, a piece of shocking filth. Glad to see 8 out of 10. Thanks for the comment, as per usual, man. What I think that's a good point. It's just like, and maybe I'm lesser than for it, but I've like, there are very few things I hold sacred. You know, there are some moral boundaries and shit that I think that are like that, but it's like, I can imagine coming from a background like this where it's just like, even if you don't feel that way anymore, where it's like, this is kind of something you don't joke about. This is something very serious.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And then seeing it presented in this context, I could see that being like overwhelming. And obviously that's why at the time it's like, you can't be like, well, goddamn, those fucking nun orgies, that was way too much for my religious, but the filmmaking was good. Obviously they're just like, oh no, she did naughty to Jesus, you know. I mean, like,
she's very well. And they saw how big that door was in the library that closes with the cross.
Yeah,
and they were like, that's too big.
It's too big.
Jesus couldn't be crucified on that. He would be a giant.
All right, I got one more. So, quick comment. So competitive bat 5831 says, quick comment. I'll try to edit later. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. The music from the beginning had me thinking we were going a different route. I love the very 70s style everyone has, and the witch hunter looks exactly like you think he would. My favorite scene had to have been when the king lends his holy relic to help out the possessed, right? When he's got that, and then it just turns out to be nothing in there. Like, he's just fucking with them, too. It makes him look like an idiot. But it doesn't matter. None of it matters.
Yeah.
Like,
right. That's a good bit for his character. Yeah, I like that.
And just like how hollow this power really comes from. It's all smoke and mirrors.
Right.
Anyway, he did come back and edit his comment, and he added, I agree. I didn't find it nearly as shocking enough to warrant the reputation, but as someone else pointed out, I never held anything Catholic as holy/sacred in my life. Growing up in Utah and its culture/counterculture seemed to make anything anti-religious feel milder somehow. I like the movie showing some more controversial parts of the old Catholic Church, overly political cardinals and priests who are celibate in name only. I was impressed with the lead actor as well as the framing of many of the scenes to the point that I needed to rewind because I missed some dialogue. Yes, dude, thank you for commenting. We touched on it briefly, but the cinematography was stunning in this movie. It was so good.
It is.
I really want like a 4K restoration or something because it was like it had a charm. Watching the like 720p that looked like a rip, like it was just so grainy and like stuff. Like it had a charm I really liked, but it's just like I do feel like this movie restored would just like be more appreciating to the setting because like some of the framing and like some of the really creative lighting mixed with the sets were really good. Like Closer People 2 mentioned like the like prison part where they're like the library or whatever, but it's like the graded floors and like the light coming up from below as they're talking.
Oh yes, duh. Yeah, I forgot. And like they're in the medicine room or
yeah,
whatever. Where,
dude,
like,
it's
all
so
the stuff
good.
is around. It's like and that lighting is great. And they do our shot where it's like from below. And
they do.
All
it's all of them. Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
I know. Oh, yeah, I noticed that when they did that. I was like, we did that shot.
That's the one. That's always the one.
Yeah.
So good. And honestly, that final shot of her climbing over the brick walls to see the path that brought the quote unquote path of enlightenment, the path of the righteous, which is literally just the bodies on this endless trail up on top. It's like that shot. That's like an all-time ender for me. Like that's such a good final shot. And it obviously fades to the black and gray where it's just like there's no more color in the world now almost.
Yeah, dude. No, the pacing of this movie is fantastic. Like the second I was kind of like, I'm like, okay, you know, it like doesn't even start to dip. It just kind of like, I'm like, oh, what are they gonna do to these nuns? And then it just like goes crazy. It goes to the wall, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. See, I do want to watch it again because the only thing I could say about it is like tonally seemed a little kind of jarring as it went.
But I don't know.
But
I
not
think
really.
Now that you've seen that, I don't think it will. Yeah,
I don't think it will. I
don't know.
think that had to do with expectations because a lot of people don't realize like
Yeah.
it's almost a watching a movie a second time like so often because you go in with some I'm not saying like hype or anything. It's just like when you know what a movie is, sometimes you can appreciate it more for what it actually is as opposed to what you think it's going to be or like how it's developing and so on. And sometimes you find that it's worse than you thought, but I doubt that's the case here. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's very rare. I've
Very
never
rare.
like watched a movie.
There's only
a
been a
second
couple
time
times
and
where
been
I'm like, there's nothing else here.
right. You're
Yeah.
just kind of underwhelmed, and that's
Then I'm
about
just
it.
like,
There was some kind of-
that was fun
yeah.
to discover the first time, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
this is definitely a
So it's
film
dope.
to rewatch.
If you made it this far, you're great. We love you. Thank you everyone that have commented on the Reddit. I appreciate seeing a little bit more love for this movie. It goes to show, I mean, that's the most comments we've had in a hot second. And like obviously each one of those comments had more comments below it, you know what I mean, like in a comment thread.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that a movie like this obviously does have its fans. It obviously did win the poll. It was close, but I'm really glad we won. I'm glad it won and glad it got picked because again, this is another one that was like mildly on my radar. Maybe.
Yeah. I'm
Maybe
better for
would-
it, dude. And I'm
better for it.
I've been sleeping on 70s films, man. That's
I always
I
feel that way, dude. We always talk about that where it's
yeah.
just like every time we watch a good 70s movie, we're like,
Yeah, we're
fuck,
like-
we need to do
and I'm like-
70s month. Like,
And I'm literally like, this movie's better than the contemporary films. Like there's only like 3 contemporary films that I'm like, oh whoa, this is crazy. Like, and it's just I don't know. There's such a plethora of
there's a
films,
lot
and that's
of
why I
good
love this- I love this
contemporary
film club.
films, but yeah, same.
Of course.
But there's a texture.
Of course.
There's
Yeah,
and a risk. That's what I miss. It's like you do see some risks now in like smaller movies, but it's like I don't know. There was a texture and a realness, a rawness, and a risk factor to movies back then that I really appreciate. So anyway, cool. So stay tuned. We're gonna do more. I don't know what. Maybe I'll break it up with a comedy before I throw in a horror. Maybe we'll do comedies next week. So go to the Reddit, see what what movies we're gonna watch next, or the YouTube. Go vote on those. If you're there, come talk.
You can vote on the YouTube. We'll have a poll on there as well. You can vote on both.
You can if you're a little fucking dirty naughty boy.
Do them. I mean, why not? Yeah,
I
you
do
both
it.
two separate socials, baby. And then you can go on those, comment, hang out. If you want to support us, we got a Patreon. We'd love you for coming on there and giving a little bit of your hard-earned money. But no biggie. Just tell your friends about us, and
Yeah.
keep watching films.
Yeah. Smash that subscribe button or whatever they say.
Obliterate it like the nun did to her bean.
Yeah. I want you to crack it open, and I'll be over there, be like, like quivering with fucking anticipation and excitement as you do so.
Oh,
Yeah, that was good. That was good stuff. So, all right. Bye now.
Goodbye. Yeah. On that note.